Is turkey overrated?
Depends on the way you cook it.
Well, have you ever had like a really, really good turkey?
Yeah. Yeah.
And would you say the key to a good turkey is it being moist?
I'd say so.
Isn't it funny that that's like the way we use the terminology for it? It's like people hate that word. People hate the word moist. When it comes to turkeys, you damn sure it has to be moist in order for it to be succulent.
It's got to be juicy.
Yes, juicy.
Can't be moist. I'm never calling. No, you never want to call it moist, though.
Well, you just told me you heard that terminology before.
I haven't heard that terminology. You'd want it to be moist, but I've never heard anyone say, man, you know what's good about this turkey? So moist.
I'm just saying, like, for Thanksgiving, I love a good turkey. But I never had, like, a great turkey, to be completely honest. And that's just me. But I've had turkey sandwiches before, but I don't, like, this is the only time of year we actually have this form of turkey. Like, people have ham, I think, all the time. You can have ham. Like, ham's, I think, more of a Christmas dinner. I'm more of a steak guy. And I think people eat steak 24/7. I don't know. Marcus Thompson was talking about it the other day, and he was like, turkey's overrated. And I was like, I kind of agree. Like, I like turkey sandwiches, but turkey itself is kind of odd that we do this once a year. We get it. We go in on turkey.
I can agree that it's overrated. I can agree with that, but I'm not saying that I've had. I'm not going to say that I've never had a turkey that's like actually good. I definitely have.
All right. Have you ever had a deep fried turkey?
I have. That's the one that tasted good.
I'm sure it did. That's one I've always wanted to have, and hopefully one day I'll experience that.
Oh, I hope you can, Derek. It's really something to behold. But you know, it depends how someone cooks it, though. If someone overcooks it, then it's super dry. You got to put a lot of butter in it. You gotta inject it with maybe some like melted butter, maybe some Cajun seasoning. Put it all around the muscle fiber areas. Can be delicious at times. But everyone looks forward to the sides. Everyone looks forward to the football. Turkey's an afterthought in Thanksgiving now.
Okay, so what's like your number one go-to piece of food when it comes to a Thanksgiving meal?
Ooh, it's got to be stuffing. Stuffing's the number one.
See, I'm not a big stuffing guy. You know what I look forward to most meal-wise? I am more of like an all-day type of thing. So tomorrow, my mom will put out in the morning like little smokies wrapped in like pigs in a blanket, basically. Then as the day progresses, you put a little pepperoni and brie. That's my all-time. That's my little brother. For years, we always have pepperoni and brie on wheat thins, and that's like our go-to, like football nosh. Just to keep it light until the main course happens, and then I like turkey. I like baked potatoes. I like
baked potato.
I'm not a mashed potato guy. Not a mashed potato guy at all.
Why?
Just doesn't taste good to me. I prefer the baked potato. You put the butter in there. You put the sauerkraut. You put the bacon bits.
Hang on. Hang on. You don't like turkey. You don't like stuffing. You don't like mashed potatoes.
What I'm telling you is I don't like Thanksgiving.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's all I needed to hear.
It's just weird food. So you know what I prefer the next day? When you have the turkey leftovers, you get like 2 pieces of whatever rolls you were using. Put all that shit on top of the 2 pieces of bread. You got yourself a turkey sandwich that encompasses all of what you ate the previous day. That, to me, is better than the actual turkey meal and everything that goes around with it.
You could put the moist maker in the middle of the turkey sandwich.
There you go, Stephen. Now you're thinking, just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. It's our Turkey Day special, our Thanksgiving special. I don't think we've ever done a Thanksgiving episode, have we?
No, because apparently you don't like it.
Everyone goes crazy over the food and whatnot, and I think it's, I'm into more of the football, obviously. Go figure. I'm more interested. Like I told my mom, like I would love just to have steaks. Honestly, like the next day, just have like a good steak sandwich instead of turkey.
Well, yeah, we'd all love steak, Derek, but that's not the point.
I know. Those great pilgrims fought for us to have turkey.
Those great pilgrims.
Oh, they did nothing wrong, right?
Nothing at all. Nothing. No atrocities to humankind at all. No,
And
the
yet,
Pilgrims just
and
fine.
yet we celebrate them every year.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's a weird
Anyway.
holiday, man. It's a weird holiday. People say it's their favorite because of the football and
Well, I
all of
get that.
I think it's maybe because of the aura around it. I come from a British family. We don't have Thanksgiving over in England. Like we gather for Christmas.
You have
and
Boxing Day.
And Boxing Day. Yeah. But we gather for Christmas. That's it. That's the only holiday we need.
Actually, isn't in Canada that's that Boxing Day's a thing there.
Boxing Day's a thing in Canada. Yes.
Is it also in England?
It started in England.
Did it now?
Yeah. Boxing Day is the day for. Unfortunately, it was like the Christmas served for the servants. They would get they would have the time.
The peasants.
Yeah. It was from the royal family. They'd have their time to open. They have their time to open the gifts and all that sort of stuff.
So it's basically for Scrooge's housekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the Muppets.
The Muppets, yes. Oh God, that's one of my favorite. Muppet Christmas Carol with the jelly beans.
All time.
Oh,
I'm Michael K. And I'm Ebenezer Scrooge. Don't you take my money.
Do you have an all-time favorite Thanksgiving movie?
Is there any of them besides Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I was trying to think of one, but that's the only one that comes to mind, honestly.
It's the only one that's there. There's no other. I think there's one that came out this year, but I'm not watching that.
Oh, the horror movie? No, fuck that.
Like, what the hell would the Thanksgiving movie be about? No one has a crazy Thanksgiving. Everyone just eats turkey. There's tryptophan, and then you fall asleep.
Yeah, I can't think of a Thanksgiving movie besides Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Because what the hell would there be? What would you do? What would the plot be? There's nothing interesting that happens on Thanksgiving that's movie worthy.
Well, you could have like like when you go to college the first year and you come back. I'm surprised no one's in a movie about like Make Out Christmas, where like freshmen come back. It's like, all right, guys, it's time for us to finally score with all the girls that didn't pay attention to us in high school.
There's one.
See?
The Thanksgiving Eve, the Black Wednesday.
Black Wednesday.
Be a great one.
Yep. So, as you can tell, I am not in the Bay Area. I am at my mother's home in Del Boca Vista. Got my usual Tito's and soda ready to go, as I just spilled all over my my fucking journal. Jesus. Oh, that'll be fun to clean up later. So, yeah. And we also were set to go earlier in the day, but Steven, your power went out right as we were ready to go, which is unfortunate. But we're here now, and thank God I didn't have to go up against Adam Copeland and Marcus Thompson show, because that would have been awkward if all the Ernies and AJ Cruz and Skills all left the chat at KMBR to come watch us. That would be mighty awkward.
Very counterintuitive of you.
I know, but you know what? I'm not there today, so whatever. But no, you got your power back on, and we're good to go. And we're going to talk a lot about football, and we're going to preview the Thanksgiving games. But Steven, I don't think I remind you of this. Do you have hot sauce ready to go?
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't mention it.
Well, I am.
All right, fine.
Steven lost.
Yep. Yeah.
So what do you got today? You got a nice pita chip ready to go?
A nice little just a tortilla chip with corn, veggie and flaxseed corn tortilla chips from Trader Joe's.
Nice.
And the hot sauce I'm using today, the old XXX Last Dab, and straight up, this could be expired. The expiration date just kind of dissolved on the bottle, so I don't know if this is like old or whatever, but it's barely been used. Like, this is the only problem with this hot sauce, man. You don't eat it in bulk. It's not like I'm putting it on my morning eggs. So you got to eat it one dab at a time.
I made that mistake.
Yeah, why'd you do that?
Because I just wanted to see if I could tolerate it with just having it with my eggs. And I ate it, but my stomach didn't the next day.
Yeah. Oh, this is a lot. That's a hefty chunk.
All right, before you eat that, Eagles beat the Chiefs 21-17. Your thoughts. Go!
Oh, I have to break down that one?
Yeah.
All right, fine. Okay. too bad right now.
All right. You say that until you swallow.
Yeah. Oh, it's just getting worse.
Yep, it'll happen.
Oh, dude. Oh, I thought it was okay. All right. Eagles, Chiefs. Look, man, that's a battle of two Super Bowl teams. Okay. Straight up, came down to the wire. And I want to bring this into a conversation about Brock Purdy, because I think what you saw right there is something that Brock Purdy is going to have to do later on in the playoffs. I know we're going to be talking about a lot about the Niners, about the Raiders, whatever. But as far as the game itself, kind of lackluster in terms of like the offensive skill power. I don't think we actually saw them both play their best games ever. Like the Eagles offense, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with the Eagles offense. DeAndre Swift was fantastic, but the Chiefs had 5 drops or whatever it was. And I think they've had 5 drops in each of their losses this season. So
you said Chiefs or Eagles had 5 drops?
Chiefs.
Yeah.
Obviously the one being Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah.
Going deep. But
yeah,
what you saw is two teams really grind it out, and that was a playoff game. But overall, it was kind of entertaining, but not really. And I also think that plays into something Tom Brady was talking about, which I know we'll want to get to later on as well.
So, watching that game, you all right?
Yeah, fine.
Where are you having Thanksgiving tomorrow, Steven? At your mom's place?
My brother's in-laws.
I just can't wait for you having to spend the whole time in the toilet and being like, I haven't had the turkey yet. What the hell's going on?
I know. I'll be fine.
So, Nick Sirianni, I'll start with that. He was at his most meathead glory. Just after the fact, Chiefs fans, y'all can shut the hell up now. He was having himself a great night, especially when Marquez Valdez-Scantling drops the pass. You see him on the sideline being like, "Oh yeah,
yeah."
All right, Nick, calm the fuck down. You didn't do anything. I would agree with you. I think the weather really played a big factor in the game. I think it was a sloppy game, obviously very different than the 38-35 performance we saw in the Super Bowl this past year. And the story pretty much was the Chiefs not scoring in the second half. The last 3 games, they have not put up a point in the second half, which is,
I'm good.
You disagreeing with me, or
I'm good? No, I'm agreeing with you. A little bit of both.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I mean, they put up 17 points in the first half. They didn't do anything in the second half. I thought that one play where Jalen Hurts threw the interception that was then fumbled and knocked out by A.J. Brown was kind of blown dead too quickly, but neither here nor there. Mahomes then gives it away on the next drive, throwing a pick to Kevin Byard. I thought that, I mean, it's a very different story than what the Chiefs had a season ago. Even though they didn't have Tyreek Hill, all of their receivers you could rely on, whether it was Juju Smith-Schuster or Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and mainly Travis Kelce. I mean, you never see Travis Kelce fumble, and that was pretty much the play of the game. I thought totally flipped the game. The Eagles finally got to Mahomes. They didn't sack him at all in the Super Bowl, but they got to him, I think, on the first drive, and then never again. But the pressure was there for most of the game. So all in all, I would say that the Chiefs, the same issues that we saw at the beginning of the year against the Lions, are still there. They do not have – I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in the receiving corps right now. Like, Mahomes does his best in the end, being like, I got to do a better job of throwing the ball to Marquez. Maybe I could do it a little deeper. It's like, dude, that's – you put on the money. It was a perfect ball. He just dropped it. And I think that the Eagles – they just survived, man. I don't know what it is about them. They do not look good like last year. It's a different feel to me than it was a year ago. They kind of have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover, I think. But They just survive. They are 9-1, and I don't think they even look like the best team in football, but they have the best record, so we'll go with it. But what do you think, Steven? Do you think the Eagles? Do you think the Eagles are the best team in football at 9-1?
I don't know. I'll give it to them because they have the best record and they just continue to find ways to win. Look, if the 49ers are healthy, I consider them the best team in football.
Okay.
If they're healthy. Big F. But, oh, God. I consider them the best in the NFC right now. I don't know if I consider them the best in football, but this season in general, super odd. Like, there's no real elite team in football right now, maybe besides the Niners, but even the Niners lost 3 games in a row. Like, I'm having a trouble pinpointing the best teams. Like, they're all in the same tier to me. It's weird. Like, I can't look at these teams in the regular season and judge it. Like, I need to see the playoffs now because it feels like we really know in the NFC who these playoff teams are going to be. We know the Lions are going to be right there. The Lions are a damn good team. I know the Eagles are going to be right there. I know the Niners are going to be right there. And then it's really everyone else. I'll say that the Eagles are best suited under Jalen Hurts, though, because Jalen Hurts making that throw to A.J. Brown when they needed it, understanding how to run the tush push. Like, kind of bizarre that they're running it on 2nd and 1 on a drive when they did.
Do you mean the throw to Devontae Smith?
Devontae Smith, excuse me. Yeah. Just an unbelievable catch, too.
Yep.
But the 2nd and 1 tush push, then the tush push into the end zone, like, that's what's going to get them over the top. When you have an unstoppable play, like, when it's unstoppable, they actually mean it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
So I consider them, sure, I'll just consider them the best right now, but I need to see the playoffs before I make that judgment. And I think they're, this gauntlet that they have coming up, it could really show who they truly are. But right now, they are the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, I would say for right now, but I'm with you, Steven. I want to see what happens in a week when they play the Niners. I think it will be interesting this weekend when they play the Bills. But I think it's going to be even more interesting when they go up against the Niners, and we'll have a better idea of who's the better team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was funny to me in the post game. Nick Sirianni was asked, I mean, obviously this is a huge win for you guys, but you would rather have won the game in February. And he was like, well, yeah, no shit. Of course we would.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the Chiefs are the cream of the crop in the AFC because I really don't think there's a lot of competition right now. Like, I still don't buy the Ravens. The Bills, I'll get to them later on, but I'm not ready to believe in them just yet. Bill leave. But I don't think anything really changed my opinion with the Chiefs. I just don't think they're as good as a year ago. I think that now the Eagles just have a little extra. When it comes to DeAndre Swift. And by the way, that incredible instinctual play of Jalen Carter to look to grab the interception on the spike by Patrick Mahomes. Crazy. You asked me, why did the Lions ever get rid of DeAndre Swift? And I don't think they knew how to use him. They drafted, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, who's helping them. I think he's a better player, honestly, when it comes to just everything, receiving and running. I think they probably have maybe the best combo running backs in football right now with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, just as far as a backfield. Because the Eagles have Rashad Penny, but don't even use him for whatever reason. I don't understand that. Maybe they're just saving him for the playoffs.
You were stoked on that.
Well, I just don't understand. I still don't understand that move, but whatever. I still would love to see them. Like, they don't need to, like, even though the tush push is unstoppable, I would love to see a little more creativity with it. I keep saying this for weeks now. I want to see a play action fake. The way the Raiders did that thing with Trey Tucker a couple of weeks ago, I thought was really creative. They did do a DeAndre Swift touchdown run a couple of weeks ago, I want to say, with the tush push, but you could do so much more with it. And I think they don't have to do it as much when you have a big back like Rashad Penny. I just don't understand it. Regardless of all that.
But what's the point of getting creative if it's unstoppable, though?
At one point, I mean, okay.
It all comes from Jason Kelce. It all comes from the offensive line.
No doubt.
And no one's going to stop it. So what's the point of getting creative with it? I mean, it worked on that it worked on that drive on 2nd and 1 and 4th and 1. I am stabilizing, and to all of you saying, "Where's Jesse?" Behind every man is a great woman with a fire extinguisher or whatever you just said, AJ Cruz. Yeah, Jesse's out drinking with her coworkers right now. So
nice.
Shout out to her. But yes, behind every nice guy is a great gal with a fire extinguisher.
Nicely done, AJ Cruz.
Put that on our tombstones.
I'm just saying, if you want to score more points, like the Eagles are doing enough to win games right now, so they usually use the brotherly shove in moments to ice the game or keep a drive going or score touchdowns on the 1 yard line. But if you want AJ Brown to go over the top, I think that's a perfect time to do that. Now it's risky, obviously, when you could just go forward with Jalen Hurts, but I don't know. It just seems like they're the best team of football, and they know it because of their talent, but they're not playing consistent enough for me really to buy into them just yet. But then again, I don't know. Right now, I would probably lean towards the Eagles over the Niners right now just because of, 1, they'll play in Philly. 2, they have 2 more wins on them, or 3, and then they'll establish, I think, a 4-game lead if they beat them in 2 weeks. So it's the Eagles by default, honestly, because they have no real competition, I believe, right now. Like if they play the Lions, that's interesting because I think both teams are physical and run-oriented, but so are the 49ers. So I don't know. To answer my own question. Yeah. I do not know.
Yeah.
It's a very weird NFL season.
It's bizarre. I think we should change the name of the brotherly shove, by the way.
To what?
To the tush-pushing, line-moving Philadelphia phenomenon.
Ooh, you know what? I remember that movie being on Disney Channel all the time. I've never seen it.
Come on, man. This guy sees a water cooler, empty water cooler, kicks it, and he says, "I could be a field goal kicker." Tony Danza. For anyone wondering, the garbage-picking, field goal kicking Philadelphia phenomenon. One of the great movies of our time.
Yeah, but what does it say about the Eagles as a franchise where there's 2 movies made where a guy went from being a garbage man to kicking for the Eagles, and then Mark Wahlberg was just a has-been who became a receiver for the Eagles?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great, inspiring stories, but also it just also says anyone can play for the Eagles.
Well, I mean, in Armageddon, what does that say about NASA when they get oil drillers to go out into space?
Well, you know the story. Well, you know the story with the commentary, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If I showed you that.
Well, yeah. No, it's hilarious. Where Michael Bay, I think in an interview says like, why wouldn't we just have astronauts learn how to drill? Ben Affleck asking them. He's like, hey Ben, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. No, I don't know what to make of the Eagles, but they just keep winning. They just keep winning, and that's all that matters.
Yep, it does. Speaking of the Niners, they have won 2 in a row since their 3-game losing streak. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-14. Brock Purdy had a perfect game, going 21 of 25 for 333 yards, 3 touchdowns. He gets a 158.3 quarterback rating. He's the first 49er quarterback to do so since Joe Montana in 1989. Now, some Niner fans remember Alex Smith going, I believe, 18 of 19 in a Monday Night Football game back in 2012, right before he got concussed and Kaepernick took his job. For whatever reason, that wasn't a perfect quarterback rating, and that's to my point here. We'll go back to the Niners real quick. I've seen better performances from Brock Purdy. I think the playoff game he had against Seattle was better. I think the game he had against the Cowboys was better. I think the game he had against the Pittsburgh Steelers was better this year. Just because he had a perfect quarterback rating doesn't, to me, make me believe that it's the best game he's had so far in his career. It's the most efficient game he's had, and I think it kind of, in my opinion, it should put to bed all of this dumb system quarterback bullshit, but people always think that. But to me, I can't stand the stat of quarterback rating. I think it's completely dumb. I think it's just based on, honestly, baseball analytic bullshit of just completion percentage and going for a certain amount of yards and whatnot. It's better to take a sack in certain situations than throw the ball away. And ESPN has their own stupid stat for QBR. I think quarterback rating while I will give Brock Purdy a ton of praise for his performance, I think quarterback rating is the most overrated stat we have in all of sports.
What do you call it?
Quarterback rating.
It's passer rating, Derek. QBR's quarterback rating.
All right, whatever.
So,
well, see that? Yeah, but see that's the same shit.
If you're gonna insult the stat, do it properly.
Well, that's fair because I remember interviewing before I became a PA at NFL Network, I interviewed for a stat job, being a stat guy at NFL Network. And let me tell you, a lot of work goes into that because you cannot be wrong. And I am wrong a lot.
Yeah.
So perfect example, Stephen, I'm glad you pointed that out because they asked me about if I had to look at it like at a document and pick out all of the errors.
Huh.
And one of them was quarterback rating. And I missed that. And they were like, you don't see anything wrong with that? And I was like, no, it's quarterback rating. I think it's kind of overrated to begin with. And they're like, no, it's passer rating. Quarterback rating is the dumb thing they made up on ESPN.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever, same fucking shit. Whatever. It's all stupid.
I think Brock Purdy was fantastic because he didn't make any mistakes. Like, I think in those other games, I could argue that some of those passes were interceptable passes, that there was a couple that maybe the defense didn't get an out. Like, this game against the Bucs, I mean, you may not think it was the best game that he's played. I personally think it was about as composed as he's ever been. I think the defense gave him a lot of opportunities. I think I thought the defense was stout towards the end of the fourth quarter because the offense did fall flat. Like, I'll say that too. It can't be Brock Purdy's best game if the team only puts up 27 points. Like, when they already put up that amount by the time that George Kittle scored the touchdown midway through the third quarter. Like if it was his best game ever, they would have put up a 50 burger, you know, like he would have continued it through the fourth quarter because it didn't like the offense fell flat for a second. They took their foot off the gas, but luckily the defense now, along with Chase Young, they're just getting after the quarterback. And I actually thought Baker Mayfield played a pretty commendable game as well. That touchdown to Mike Evans, I thought, who was on the Dale Johnston? I thought Moose Johnston made a terrific point on the broadcast when he said, look, if Mayfield throws that ball on the first pump, then that ball's getting intercepted in the end zone to Mike Evans. But instead, he pump fakes, waits for him to get open, just shows a little more patience. And I was pretty impressed with that one. And ultimately, the defense got it done. But I don't think I've seen Brock Purdy as composed as he was, though. Like, it didn't look like the dude took a deep breath the entire game. It was crazy. Just the one that stood out to me, and honestly, in real time, it actually it looked a lot cooler than it did when I watched it back on replay. But it was the little play where he stepped up and found a wide open Deebo Samuel, just going, I think, running like a corner route to the sideline. I was like, damn, just the way that he was able to stay in the pocket, even though it was collapsing, and he simply kept his eyes downfield, but managed to find the lane. Any quarterback can do that, but a lot of quarterbacks tend to look rushed when they do that. Purdy didn't look rushed. He just got into his three-step drop, knew that he didn't have the throw right away, so he just ran through the lane that he could and then made it to a wide-open Deebo and got himself in a better position. I just thought he was so poised, so composed. It was a very impressive game, but it was far from his best game because they would have sealed that one much earlier than they did because it took until that interception really from Jair Brown where you could officially say, okay, the Niners have this one.
Yeah, but the defense obviously preserved the win, and actually preserving the point spread too. It was a 13-point spread, and if they cut that down, but they won the game by, what was it, 13?
Yep.
So, actually, I think it was a 12-point spread. Now that I think about it, I hate that I know all that terminology now. Actually, I don't. It's
Why?
actually nice. No, I take it back. I like it because I don't have to worry about that shit with NFL Network now. So it's good that I'm aware of all that stuff. But yeah, I will say that, yeah, I don't believe that it was Brock Purdy's finest performance yet as 49ers quarterback, but still, yes, everything you said, Stephen, poised, the way that he handled himself. He hasn't been phased by that 3-game stretch. He is back to being the Brock Purdy he was at the beginning of the season. I've been very impressed with the defense. 2 weeks in a row now where they've had 5 sacks. And Chase Young, I think, has changed that whole defense. having more pressure. I think he's rejuvenated Nick Bosa. I think the secondary is actually playing a lot better now. They're going to have to with Talanoa Hufanga being out for the season now with a torn ACL.
Mm-hmm.
So Jair Brown's going to fill in with Deshaun Gibson. And that might be their weakest link right now when it comes to the defense as a whole. But I think they're in a good spot. Just going back to the Eagles, it's just a matter of can the 49ers go into Philadelphia and keep pace with them? On paper, they could, but I don't know right now. So we'll see when that game happens.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the Niners are in a good spot. And we'll see how they do tomorrow against the Seahawks.
This is where I wanted to pick up the conversation from when I was, just guzzling hot sauce and heat was coursing through every facet of my
Guzzling.
body. Yeah. I'm very interested to see Brock Purdy take the next step because I listened to it was after the Monday night game, and Steve Young on the Dan Patrick show, he gave his usual spiel of Brock Purdy, has the force or whatever, something that can't be described.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, probably like 6 or 7 times. He repeats that everywhere.
Oh, it's the force. I can't explain to you, Tom. He's crazy.
Yeah. Like when Obi-Wan goes up to Luke Skywalker and says, "Hey, kid, you have the force." Yeah, Brock Purdy has the force. It's not how that movie went, Steve.
Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever.
Yeah. But he also made an interesting point though, because he did mention that he's not the prototypical CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts type where they can break out of the pocket and throw for 50 yards on the run and then hit a receiver in stride. He needs like the way that he put it, I really like the way that he put it. He said like a guy like Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, they need 3 plays in order to get something done. Brock Purdy needs 5. And he believes that Purdy can take that next step. And he also mentioned that every game is coming down to the fourth quarter. Case in point, Monday Night Football, Eagles Chiefs, it comes down to the fourth quarter and which quarterback can make the big time throws. So I wonder, like, I'm done even trying to, I'm not done. I'm going to evaluate them week after week, but in the grand scheme of things, just know here, I am not like, when I evaluate these 49ers game to game, really the true evaluation will come in the playoffs because we know they're a playoff team. The regular season, they can dominate it. But the question is, if they get as far as the NFC Championship and the game gets a little grimy and they need someone to win, can they? Because it's not just Brock Purdy I have questions about, but it's Kyle Shanahan. When they go on these little winning streaks here, the stat gets forgotten. It always gets brought up when they lost, but it always gets forgotten whenever they blow out teams like they have back-to-back weeks. Shanahan has not won a game when his team is down by 8 points in the fourth quarter. So I want to know how they'd respond to that if they have some sort of game like they did with the Eagles and Chiefs, because the Chiefs would have won that game if MVS would have actually caught that ball. So I think what you saw there is what you need to see from Brock Purdy, because he's definitely a top 10 quarterback. Like he's playing just as well as anybody, except for, say a handful. But what you saw with Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, those were big-time playoff quarterback plays. And I want to see Brock Purdy do that. And it's not his fault that he hasn't had the chance to prove himself. He got hurt in the first play of the game or whatever it was against the Eagles in the NFC Championship. So it's not his fault. It's just me. I want to see him take that next step and elevate it. Like people always ask, what do you want to see more? What more does anyone need to see? How are you going to continue to criticize this dude? Well, I want to see him do that in the NFC Championship. And I think that's a very fair assessment.
No, that's very fair. Real quick.
And I think my own assessment's very fair. No one else's is fair.
The Marquez Valdez-Scantling drop in the end zone. Did that give you any flashbacks to Emmanuel Sanders, the overthrow?
No.
Well, it was different just because Marquez dropped
Sanders at least had some guys running stride for stride with him. Marquez Valdez-Scantling straight beat his guy and had the ball in his hands. Dude, Jimmy Garoppolo would have been like, God, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word.
Time for the word.
Oh, that's too much of an inside joke. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Shout out to Zachariah.
He would have Jimmy Garoppolo would have been looked at differently if he made that type of throw, but he didn't make that type of throw.
Yeah, but Emmanuel Sanders beat his guy, though, I would say.
I got to look back and look at it.
Yeah. Regardless, okay, do you think that the 49ers have the offense now to come back down by 8 in the fourth quarter?
I don't know.
I do. I believe I don't think that they are a run-based offense anymore where they have to establish an early lead to dominate another team just because of Jimmy Garoppolo's lack of arm strength or whatever. I think in the days in 2019 where they had the great pass rush, they had the running back by committee with Raheem Mostert and Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman, and they had Jimmy Garoppolo, that it was primarily based on running the football. And if they had to get back into a game, they were shit out of luck. Now I don't believe that. They have a passing game with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle, and even Christian McCaffrey. So I'm not really worried about that. What I am worried about is Brock Purdy in situations where everything's not on point for him. It's not like Tua, and we'll get to Tua here because he played the Raiders, but I believe that when Brock Purdy's first read isn't there, he knows how to go through his progressions and find the right guy.
Yeah.
I just think that he needs everything to be perfect, though, in the sense that Trent Williams is blocking for him, and he has elite receivers and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel getting open. Those are the things that need to happen. In order for the 49ers to get to the Super Bowl and take that next step, they need to be fully healthy. And obviously the Talanoa Hufanga injury may hurt them in some capacity, but then again, he wasn't having the best season to begin with. But, you know, he is still an all-pro. So, and you go from him to a rookie in Jair Brown. So, to answer your point, Stephen, about Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, all the questions, again, I don't know. We'll find out. But I do feel more confident than I have about this team in years past.
Yeah.
Like, you know me, like I think I've been fair with the 49ers. Some say I'm a hater. But I've always, like, when they play in the Rams in the NFC Championship game, I just didn't think that they could go score for score with them because of Jimmy Garoppolo. I thought that the Rams had a better offense in the end. Now I think that the Niners have an offense that's comparable with any team in the league.
I think so too. But what's going to happen in the trenches? You know, it's not even going to be about Brock Purdy. Like those games I mean, I know we focus on the Super Bowl like a lot, but those games came down to the defensive line, at least for the last couple of years, starting in 2021 with that NFC Championship. I know it started with the Jaquiski Tart drop. Like, God, if he didn't drop that interception, then who knows? 49ers probably would have won that. But then 8
minutes left in that game.
Yeah. And then the lineman just took over. Aaron Donald took over in that one. Last year, Philadelphia Eagles, Hassan Reddick right away. Everyone's getting on Kyle Shanahan for having a tight end block the defensive end, but that happens all the time. That happens all the time in the NFL. It's just we don't look at it from a broad perspective, and so we just looked at it from what we have on the screen. So we just had to blame someone. But the reality is that's just the type of threat that the Eagles' defensive line posed. So, yeah, I do believe in Brock Purdy. I want to see that. Also want to see how they do towards the end of the fourth quarter in the playoffs. Like the 49ers are a fantastic regular season team. Amazing to watch. You know, like unbelievable at times. But it's kind of at the point now for me where I'm just like, what are they going to do in the playoffs? Yeah. You know, like what if they have a dud? You know what I mean? Like, I think they could beat any team in the NFL. I'm not saying they can't beat the Eagles. I'm not saying they can't beat the Lions. I think they're better than those guys are. But God, it's just the patterns that they've shown for the past few years when it matters most. It's kind of come back to haunt them. So there's a lot of variables at play. And I don't know, man. It's just if they do lose somehow in the playoffs, I have a feeling it's not going to be Brock Purdy's fault that we're going to be pointing to. I don't think we're going to be pointing to the quarterback. I think it's going to be for a different reason.
Jake Moody.
Could be. That's something I'm still waiting on. You know, he's had some kind of easy-ish opportunities lately.
That's why getting home field advantage was so vital. And I think a bigger question I should ask, with the Eagles winning this game on Monday night against the Chiefs, everyone kind of circled it for the 49ers fans as a possibility for them to get back into the hunt. But now that they have established a 3-game lead on them, is it going to be that much harder for them to gain that back? Do you think there's any possibility? Because the Eagles have their own hard stretch. They play the Bills, they play the Niners, they play the Seahawks, they play the Cowboys. But do you think there's a realistic chance that the Niners could catch them when it comes to the home field advantage race? You're on mute.
I think there's still a realistic chance, but time's ticking here.
Yeah. Well, the Lions have an easier schedule,
right?
And they're 8-2. So
we looked at it a couple of weeks ago. They
I
could
know.
very well end this season with 3 losses.
Yep.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, those 8-2 Lions, best record since 1962.
Yeah. You see the Joey Molinaro, the impression guy.
Yeah.
I tried to get on and
stole my career.
And pretty much anyone who wanted to get into form of sports via comedy.
Yep.
But he did the classic having sitting and watching the game with your girlfriend's dad during Thanksgiving, and it's just like awkward conversation. And then they're like, "Oh, Detroit Lions first 8-2 start since 1962." Then like the dad goes, "Yeah, back when Biden had his brains." Like how many times is that joke going to get used?
Yep.
That was before JFK got assassinated and before Biden had brains or whatever.
Not bad.
Yeah. Used a lot in certain households tomorrow.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's Thanksgiving. That's always a fun time where everyone tries not to talk about what's going on in the world to just focus on football.
I know, right? Someone always has to break up the politics stuff, but
always.
Who's going to do it?
Yep. Raiders lose to the Miami Dolphins 20-13. And I know there's no such thing as moral victories, but I will say this. I was very impressed with the defense because that team is high flying at home. They are most likely, right now I'd say they're probably the most lethal offensive football. I won't say they're the best offense because they have lulls, obviously, against really good teams. But the Raiders came in and hit him in the mouth, caused 3 turnovers. I thought that Patrick Graham had a great game plan. And unlike Brock Purdy, Tua, I think, has a problem with if his first read isn't there, then he doesn't know what to do. So he just does what Mike McDaniel tells him. He throws the interceptions. And the reality was the Raiders didn't have enough offense to stay in this game. That was the most frustrating part.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Devontae Adams touchdown on the deep ball was beautiful, but then they went back to it way too much. They tried to force that on a 4th and 3 to Jacoby Myers, which I thought was ridiculous. I thought that Aiden O'Connell, I'm seeing what Josh McDaniels complained about a little bit. You and I argued about this, but I think he holds on to the ball way too long, and I thought that was the case on that another 4th down attempt where he held on the ball and then threw it the last second, and then Jalen Phillips intercepts it. I think that he tested Jalen Ramsey way too much, and I think they didn't run the ball enough with Josh Jacobs. He finished with, I had it here for a second. He had 14 carries for 39 yards, averaging 2.8. But there was a 1-possession game. I think you could have established the run a little bit more. But the reality is the Dolphins' defense is coordinated by Vic Fangio. They have terrible outings sometimes, but I thought they had a pretty good game plan. And they were playing a rookie quarterback, and they were, the coordinator for the Raiders is a quarterback coach that's still learning how to call plays. So all in all, for what they've done with Antonio Pierce as head coach, I would say I was still pretty impressed. You want to see more offensively, obviously, but losing 20-13 with one of the most high-potent offenses in football, not too bad.
No, I agree. The fact that they only gave up that amount of points to the Dolphins is something like you can look on and think that might have been their best defensive performance of the season. Like they haven't played an offense as prolific, as dynamic as that one. Excuse me. But I thought that, for one, the offensive coordinator, Bo Hardegree, did not do much to inspire a ton of confidence with that one. I like that he's getting aggressive at points, but you got to be smart with it. And it seemed like at times they were a little too conservative, and at times they were too aggressive. That's a problem that Josh McDaniels had as well. So I'm not like fully convinced about him being an offensive coordinator moving forward for the team. And, Vic Fangio did make it a point of emphasis to really put pressure on the rookie quarterback who can't move out of the pocket. And yeah, we were arguing about that 1 4th down because I'm still going to maintain that the offensive line needs to give him a little bit more time on a 4th down play. Come on, just one play, give him a perfect pocket so that he could try to make a play. But nonetheless, it didn't happen. The defense was just awesome. And the fact that I'm starting to understand now why the hype was around Patrick Graham, because he did a lot with the Giants with little talent. And the Raiders definitely have some talent. I mean, Max Crosby is an absolute stud,
Yep.
Who was just featured as like the number 1 player in the league on Hard Knocks, basically. Yeah. I know that must have hurt you with that one.
No, I mean, I think Max Crosby's great. It's just I can't stand when Raider fans say he replaces Khalil Mack. Like it's very different. But well, that happens anytime on Hard Knocks. It's like we got to stop this guy. I mean, like then Lee Schreiber, you do it in your voice, but just like Max Crosby is the fiercest defender in all of football.
Yep, they call him the Condor. But overall, like I wasn't mad at that game, and I think to me, I was thinking about this, like. If they're going to have a head coach next season, people keep on going back to like John Gruden when he got let go and Rich Bisaccia and how they never hung on to Rich Bisaccia. Well, it was never Rich Bisaccia's destiny to be a head coach. Like he just moved on to Green Bay and became another special teams coordinator. Like I don't think he wanted to be a head coach. I really don't think so. But Antonio Pierce, it feels like the path that he's on, at some point, it will lead him to becoming a head coach. And right now, these guys have really rallied around him. They're playing with a lot of swag. They're playing with a lot of fun. I think that, I still need to see a little bit more, but I'm kind of leaning in the direction. Like if Antonio Pierce is the head coach moving forward, like he's really galvanized this team. I think he could be. And you get a couple of decent coordinators if Patrick Graham sticks on the team. And I don't know, you find another OC. You got to find the offensive genius to pair with that head coach. But
no doubt,
I really like what they have in him, man. I think he's got the right mindset. I think he understands how players think. I think he connects with them real well. I do want to see some more in-game decisions. Yeah. But overall, like I'm trending in the direction of, I kind of like him potentially being their head coach moving forward.
I still need to see a little bit more. And if they play well against the Kansas City Chiefs this week, coming off a huge loss to the Eagles, then you got me in. But I think it's more like, who do I give credit to here? Is it really Patrick Graham, who's coordinating a great defense? It's hard to, give credit to a head coach that is just a rah-rah guy. But it's more than that with this team, because obviously it's showing when Josh McDaniels was sucking the fun out of the team. So I'm not ready to say I don't think Antonio Pierce should be head coach of the Raiders. I'm just not buying it yet. I think it's going to be, honestly, a little unrealistic at this point. But I'm not, like I said before, I think that the Rich Bisaccia move really was hated by the team, not going in that direction, choosing Josh McDaniels over him.
Yep.
And I think that Mark Davis is really going to take that into account this time around. But you really got to prove that you can coach against the best.
For sure.
So if he's able to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs, then maybe you have something there with Antonio Pierce. But I don't really know yet. I'm like, maybe Antonio Pierce needs to learn how to be a coordinator first, on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know. But I'm not ready to go there yet. I want to see how this team finishes out. Still in the playoff hunt at 5-6. By the way, Steven, going back to just Lee Schreiber doing narration, were you a Fly the Conchords guy?
Yeah.
It'd just be like HBO obviously was on Fly the Conchords was on HBO. Just be like just thinking in Lee Schreiber narration. They call Max Crosby the Concord. And like flying the Conchords, in order to stop him, it's business time.
He's the most beautiful edge rusher in the room.
I've seen Flight of the Conchords live 3 times. Still some of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, well done. But I'll tell you something, though. I'm not fully convinced about Aiden O'Connell. I know that.
Yeah.
I know he's serviceable enough, but I mean, you talk about Antonio Pierce wanting to compete with the best, and I can't go on a whole spiel about Brock Purdy and how he needs to compete with the best truly in order for me to give his evaluation when I see what Aiden O'Connell's doing, and I see a decent quarterback, fine as like a placeholder maybe, but he does not have the looks to me of like a full-on franchise guy. I don't want to judge him based off of just like a couple of games. He's played very well, but the Raiders have had a lot of mediocre quarterback play in my lifetime, and this just feels like another one.
To me, Aiden O'Connell is the only guy on the team that can deliver a deep ball to Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
And they're evaluating him right now. But to me, he reminds me of Matt McGloin. He reminds me of Bruce Gradkowski. Just a guy that can flash here or there, but in the grand scheme of things is probably going to be your backup quarterback. Yes, to compete with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson now, who's actually playing fairly well, enough to win games. But I think that you need to separate yourself from the rest of the AFC West, and I don't think Aiden O'Connell is that guy.
No, he doesn't seem to be that guy, and who knows how much longer he's going to have Adams, because you saw that report that the Jets are just going to do everything they can this offseason to try to trade for him.
Well, I would say also to the Jets, what do you need? Do you need offensive line help more than you need Devontae Adams? I would say yeah. Are we trading away a first-round pick to get a good tackle to get Devontae Adams? I mean, the Raiders aren't just going to let him go, so it'll be interesting. But I do think that's a possibility you and I have talked about. But you can see this game chronicalized in the new episode of Hard Knocks with the Dolphins. And they show Tyreek Hill. By the way, I just want to say that Tyreek Hill went off for 10 catches, 146 yards, 1 touchdown. Most defenses, it's hard to contain him. But the Raiders actually, he dealt with the hand injury. But to hold everybody else in check was impressive. Jalen Waddle, I think, was held to like 55 yards receiving. So I thought the Raiders did a good job overall, just containing the Dolphins defense or Dolphins offense. As far as that Hard Knocks episode, Tua, they bring up the fact that the narrative around him is everything is perfect for him. Unlike Brock Purdy, where he can adjust on the fly. If things don't go well for Tua, he is like, oh, what do I do? And they bring that up, but yet I don't think that they really showed him going against that. Like, I think the same applied in the game with the Raiders. I don't think he played that well. He did enough to throw to Tyreek Hill, and that was the difference. But I thought the Raiders really fucked with him. And I thought a win is a win in the end in the NFL, but I really thought that his mentality after the game was kind of like, yay, we got to win. But if I was Mike McDaniel, if I was the Dolphins, I was like, the same shit's happening. If we play a better team with offense, we lose that game. And I don't know, just watching that in-season Hard Knocks, I don't know if I buy Tua. I like Mike McDaniel, but he says kind of corny stuff to Tua just to get him hyped up. But I don't really know if he believes in Tua. I don't know. Like, I didn't come away thinking like I have a lot of confidence in the Dolphins as far as a team. I think that they play pretty good defense. Mike McDaniels is an offensive genius. They have a great player in Tyreek Hill. A lot of Tyreek Hill in that episode. I'll get to that a little bit here. But I didn't come away thinking like, oh, they're in good hands with Tua Tagovailoa as their quarterback.
It's funny. I kind of just came away thinking, damn, I really like Tua.
All right.
Not as a quarterback, just as a person, as a human being.
No, that's fair. No, I mean,
like, what do you think you're going to do? What do you think? Like, they're going to show that montage of, Michael Robinson on NFL Network or whatever his name is, the fullback? Or are they going to show a montage of him and Ryan Clark and all these guys saying the critique that you're talking about there, where it's like, yeah, if he has to break out of his first read, then he can't do anything. What are they going to have that playing in the background as Tua throws the interception? What are they going to have?
No, but I'd rather see some like frustration on the sideline being like, fuck, I'm still doing the same shit.
Yeah, but you also heard the mentality, though. It's like they don't think about that stuff. Like, it's always move on to the next play, which could be sometimes detrimental if you're not focusing on, your flaws.
I just remember McDaniel after the Chief game saying, you have to change the narrative yourself. If you don't want that being a storyline, then change it. So right now, the Raiders are a mediocre team, I'd say right now. Are they a good team? I don't know. They're a middling team. They're in the middle of, for 5-6 record, they're in the hunt. But the Dolphins haven't beat anybody big. And they haven't played well against, the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs.
Right.
So to say 1 week, I truly believe Mike McDaniel feels that way. But I think with Tua, it's like we got the win, which is the most important thing in the end. But nothing from that game or nothing from watching that footage makes me confident that things are going to change for him when it comes to the postseason.
Gotcha. No, I can agree with you on that. And it seems like they're just one of those teams that's really bound for maybe a divisional round upset, like is really what they're bound for. I don't know. Maybe they can make it to the AFC Championship. Question: do you have crickets going on in the outdoors there?
You best believe, man. I got the screen door going in the background here, or the screen door in my mom's patio. I got a nice vodka going. It's beautiful. Yes, I got crickets, cicadas, whatever you want, baby.
Thank God, because I thought there was something up with my laptop speakers. I was really nervous.
Crickets, cicadas, mashed potatoes, gravy.
I didn't want to like take my crap to the Apple store again
on Thanksgiving Day. No, thank you.
So I'm glad there are crickets outside, because I turned off the volume for a second as you were on your little diatribe about Tua, because I kind of knew where you were going. And then, I thought that I was like, what the hell's wrong with my speaker?
Are they coming through pretty clearly?
Not on the podcast, but it just sounds like, wait, just there's somebody screaming in the background.
It's kind of nice though, right?
It was a little bit.
It's nice then, it's better than hearing screams and traffic in Oakland from time to time.
Oh, dude, skills. I still remember that time right before Thanksgiving that JYOM was supposed to start at 2 p.m., but Steven lost power and that show was delayed till 6. Fun times. Dude, I remember that too. It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy times, man.
What a time, huh?
A whole 4 hours of wondering what the hell was going to happen.
Look how far we've come as a society.
Who'd have thought, man? Who'd have thought? Not us.
Not me.
Not me. By the way, AJ Cruz asks, any Gators, Derek? Wrong one. Any Gators, Derek? Yes. In the area my mom lives, there's a good dog walking community around here. But if the dogs go into the lake, you best be aware that there's not alligators in there.
I always think of Monsters, Inc. whenever I think of Florida and alligators.
Was there a moment in there with alligators?
Yeah, that moment where they got banished and they went to Florida or whatever it was. Or maybe I'm just assuming that it was Florida. But they're in a trailer and there's the son.
Oh, yeah.
Mom, there's another gator in here.
Yeah.
I was like, another gator. And then it's with the broom.
It's with who was Steve Buscemi's guy? Randall?
Oh, that was Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. Was it Randall?
I didn't know that.
Pretty sure it was Randall.
Wow. What a great day.
If you think about it, it's John Goodman and Steve Buscemi teaming up from The Big Lebowski to Monsters, Inc.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine if during the movie, if out of nowhere, Sully's like, shut the fuck up, Tommy.
It would have been hilarious if Mike Wazowski was actually played by Jeff Bridges in the end.
That would have been great.
What did you think of the Dolphins' Hard Knocks?
I enjoyed it, but there's also I haven't watched it in in-season Hard Knocks before. There's also something to the preseason Hard Knocks and the fact that you haven't seen football for a long time.
Yes.
And it's really nice to get football back, even if it's at a training camp capacity. This one, it's a little different because you're already there. So you feel like you've missed out on a ton, and maybe they're not telling the whole story about how the season's gone. Like we think we know, like based
But
on
you
what
have
we
no idea.
but we don't. But we really
This is
don't.
the diary of the Miami Dolphins.
But I personally love Mike McDaniel. Like that. I have a soft spot for the guy.
I will say this. When he doesn't know what to say at certain moments, it's like nails at a chalkboard. I think he's goofy. I like his style. But just when he doesn't know what to say at times, when he's like, I'm like, oh, just keep talking.
There is that.
And I know I'm guilty of that too sometimes in this podcast. But then when they ask him and when they're like, so what's up with the cakes? He's like, oh, that's just that's something that our coach thought of with yeah, people just like cakes.
I don't like the style. I'm going to be honest. I don't like the style, the clothing style. Maybe I'm not going to sit here.
His capris?
Yeah, not into it. Not into the whole, hey, get some joggers and put them up to right below your knees.
Yeah.
Thing. I'm not into that. I don't know.
Yeah, he's weird, and it's kind of, refreshing for not like the typical coach. He doesn't look like a coach. I wonder if that kind of makes the team question sometimes when he's like kind of chewing them out. He's like, this little guy's fucking talk to us like this. But then again, don't they feel that sometimes with Bill Belichick?
Dude, actually, you know what? I was wrong. This is hell comfy.
What you're wearing some right now?
Wearing joggers. That's comfy. That's some comfy stuff. Sorry for the dirty floor. I can't really see it.
All right. It's a lot of leg.
It is a lot of leg.
A lot of Tyreek Hill too on that show. And look, I'm all for showing people change and whatnot. Tyreek Hill, got married, and he's, they're showing him being fun and whatnot. It's just hard for me to forget some of the things he's done in the past. So when I watch Hard Knocks, I'm like, all right, they're profiling Tyreek Hill because he's a great player. I'm not taking anything away from him as a player, but it's hard for me to forget about punching his pregnant girlfriend or the allegations of breaking his child's arm. It's shit like that where I'm like, Hard Knocks is more interesting when you have Aaron Rodgers leading it and you don't know what it's like with him in a Jets uniform yet, so there's intrigue with that. That's the biggest takeaway I have from this. Is the Tyreek Hill stuff, obviously, Mike McDaniel. But I think it's going to be hard for Hard Knocks to ever really top something like Aaron Rodgers joining the Jets. We don't know what it's like. We don't know what it sounds like. We don't know what it looks like. And the reality is we still don't. And the only footage we have of that is through Hard Knocks.
Right.
I think it's going to be hard for anybody to top that going forward, but I'll also say that the Tyreek Hill stuff, I was like, I don't really like seeing a lot of him, so let's get off of him.
It was kind of a perfect storm for the Rodgers thing because he had the offseason of off-seasons, went on Joe Rogan and had the Victim Tour, had the Darkness Retreat before that, just everything surrounding him that summer. So there's certainly more intrigue there, just naturally that Hard Knocks really, the only way that they could top it is if they just go after whichever team lands the biggest free agent quarterback. But even so, it's not going to match what Aaron Rodgers did. And to play devil's advocate about Tyreek Hill, there is at times where I think to myself, like, I think on a personal level, like, am I being too harsh? Am I, because I felt the same way you did, but, am I just too soft on this whole matter? Like, should it not have to play into how I feel about this person from something he did in 2014? And then I think those tapes came out. I remember I was in the newer building. So those tapes came out like 2018, I think, or something like that, where where he threatens his then girlfriend and I think like their young son and all that sort of stuff. Am I being too hard on him? But at the same time, like, I can't really control it. It's just how I kind of feel whenever I see him on the screen. I'm like, well, I know that you did something, but should we be more forgiving for someone like that now that he's 29, even though it was quite a while ago now. I mean, we all know that, those years, they're not technically your formative years, because your formative years are like your teenage years or your younger years before that. But like, man, from where I'm at right now at 30 years old compared to where I was, say, at like 23, I feel like I'm kind of a different guy.
No, and that's totally fair. But I also think in the media, like, we pick and choose who to vilify. And this is totally warranted. But I feel like no one can say something about Deshaun Watson without bringing up what's happened in the past. And I know that's a different deal with him to Tyreek Hill. But I don't know. I feel like when people do certain things, are we able to get past it? And I don't know. Like, I don't like. It's one thing if Tyreek Hill scoring a touchdown on NFL Sundays, but they getting a profile of him as like a good guy. Maybe time has changed. Time, he's changed as a person. But then this past year, you hear that he had a whole incident on a boat where he slapped some dude in the face that may have led to him having, a punishment from the NFL. Not that big of a deal, but I don't know. Like, I find it a little uneasy, but at the same time, I mean, comparing it to Deshaun Watson's a totally different deal. But then again, I don't know. It's both horrible acts, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's kind of a real conundrum that you could put yourself in, but I have a feeling they're not going to get out. You know what surprised me? Like, I watched this in awe at the end. Like, I was just as locked in on this moment as on Hard Knocks than anything else. And that was after they won. And Christian Wilkins, freaking Twinkle Toes, is doing the dance in the locker room. Hang on. You know what? Let me just Google it real quick. Let's look up how big he is, because he's one of the great personalities.
He's huge. He's huge.
Dude, he is 311 pounds. That man was dancing like he was part of the Nutcracker in the locker room.
And may have experienced the Nutcracker afterwards.
The leg strength that it takes. I can't. Like, what the? Dude, I struggled walking up the BART stairs this morning on the way to work. This dude's twice my weight. It's unbelievable.
He's nimble. He's nimble.
He is, man. And how athletic these guys are. Just can't get over that.
You brought up what Tom Brady said to, what was it, Stephen A. Smith's podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the clip of that by chance?
I am getting it right now.
I thought it was interesting. And he's rocking the Giants hat in there. I wonder if he's going to start claiming the Bay Area now that he's retired. Let's listen to Tom Brady complaining about today's NFL with Stephen A. Smith.
A lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not?
And
why not?
I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been. I think I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott and guys that impacted the game in a certain way. And every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily, why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to the defensive player to protect the offensive player. A defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality.
Wow.
I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because you knock him out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose a good player.
I agree with everything Tom Brady's saying, because I've felt that while we all enjoy football, the product has diluted year by year.
Yeah.
As far as trying to, it's a tough deal. You're trying to talk about player safety while also trying to have this physical game that everybody loves. But I will say this also. I find it interesting that Tom Brady says this half a season into his retirement. And I think it's hypocritical because Tom, in the last years of his career, were looking for every penalty he could get when he got touched. And he says that he didn't throw in spots where Ray Lewis could hit his players. But let's be real, like, he was looking for a benefit everywhere. I remember him, against the Baltimore Ravens and AFC Championship games looking for flags, saying that Ed Reed hit him too late, trying to find any advantage he could to get the first down. So while I do agree with what he said, I think it's a little hypocritical to say that already half a season into his retirement. And, is he going to say stuff like this more as he becomes a broadcaster? I don't know. But I don't disagree with him. I just thought it was hypocritical.
So there's a couple of Patriots pages, fan pages, which posted like some stats of Tom Brady and comparing him to Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, the amount of games they played, how many roughing the passer calls have been called on them or against them or for them rather. And the numbers are pretty staggering. Like I think we might have maybe forgotten just how often Tom Brady was getting hit. Maybe he was always complaining in his later years, but earlier on, there were a lot of hits that he took and they just didn't call them at all. He did play in a different time. And I do think that it's absolutely diluted the product, but I just don't think we'd react the same way knowing that what we know now about player safety. Like I look back on there's one hit that I'll always remember. It was the AFC divisional round. It was the Steelers and the Ravens, or it might have been actually the AFC championship. But Ryan Clark lays a hit on Willis McGahee.
Yep.
Knocks him out. Both those guys are just lying flat. And I remember going crazy at the time. I was in a household that was full of Steelers fans. They were going nuts too. But as I'm watching it now.
Where were you?
I was in Fremont.
Okay.
Yeah. But I
Steelers fans in Oakland or near Oakland?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of them.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, there were a lot of Steelers fans around here. Dude, like I go back, as soon as Tom Brady said that, I went back to watch it and I was like, God, I think we do yearn for those days, but I also think with what we know now, but with what we know now about concussions, what it can do to you in your later years. I mean, Drew Brees is talking about, he can't even lift his arm above his shoulder anymore. He has to be relegated to pickleball and he's only 44 years old because of the punishment that he took on their bodies. Like, I'm all for wanting the game to be the way that it was. But dude, like just looking at the long-term effects, I don't know, just seeing some guys in the way that they have to live nowadays. Like I'm not going to name a name, but there's one guest who came on in 95.7 once and he was a former football player and I'm not talking about Lowe, anybody. I'm talking about a former football, another one. He was a guest, but he remembered that he was coming on, but he didn't. So when he answered the phone, he was like, how'd you get this number? And then you call him back like 15 minutes later, and then he acts like as if he didn't say anything and he's just totally ready to come on. So I understand what Brady's saying, and the rules have kind of turn things around with how, you can hit players and how you defend and all that sort of stuff. But there's also the impact that these guys take. And it's just like, God, is it really worth it for our enjoyment? Maybe for one Sunday afternoon, as opposed to what they're going to have to go through for the remainder of their, it's really a tough one. It's a tough one. Cause I totally understand people who just don't think football's the same anymore. Cause in part it's not even just, the physical aspect of it too. There are other rules around as well.
Yeah, I don't really know what the right answer is, to be completely honest. I think that we all love it. We all criticize it. But at the end of the day, we're all going to watch it. So there has to be a happy medium. What I will say to him is he doesn't think the quarterbacks play as good as his day. And I think that's correct. We have so much talent in the NFL right now, and we're having one of the most mediocre quarterback seasons we've seen in quite some time. And Jalen Hurts is the leading candidate for MVP, but if you look at his stats, he's got 15 touchdowns and 9 picks. Jordan Love, who everyone says is having a terrible season, has 16 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Not far off. And he has more passing yards. So what are we really talking about here? I think that the game has changed because of a CBA that was agreed to a few years ago, or even 10 years ago, where practice is not as important. Two-a-days are gone. So
there's also that.
Yeah, I
Huge.
think that
Sacrificing practices for more money, TV revenue, games, whatever. Yeah, it's definitely come back too.
And I do wonder about today's I there's no doubt in Patrick Mahomes. I think that he's all out for winning. I think that the same thing could be said for Joe Burrow, which will be interesting because I believe he agreed to do the Netflix quarterback show, and now we'll see him get hurt and have to come back and everything. But I do wonder about guys like Tua or Justin Herbert or the younger quarterbacks of today's generation that I don't know if they're as vocal and the same as a Tom Brady that are all about I'm going to die for this team. It's a different mentality. I don't know.
No,
I don't even know I don't even know if I'm really formulating that the way I want to. But
what you're getting at here is, Kevin Durant with a 3. What you're getting at,
forgot the words you're playing right now.
What you're getting at here is, man, in the 2000s, we were just so used to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I'll put Phillip Rivers up there because his name just pops into my head. I don't know why, because I guess he's going to the Browns, but Joe Flacco comes to mind. You had
Roethlisberger.
Why am I mentioning these guys? Roethlisberger, thank you. Why am I blanking on a bunch of really good quarterbacks from the past?
You put, I guess, Eli Manning in that time frame.
Eli, Donovan McNabb. Different guys who were
Vic.
just the franchise guys. You don't have a lot of that anymore. You really don't. It's you're at a point now where, it's like Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy's ascending. But whenever we're hearing about how he's like a top 10 quarterback, well, to be honest, there's not a ton of good quarterbacks in the NFL. So with judging how he plays, yeah, he's going to be put right up there. Because it's not like there's a gauntlet. You have Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, I know, and maybe those guys just need some more time. Justin Herbert might need a different coach entirely, but it's not. They're definitely not on the same level. They're not immediate Super Bowl champions like some of those guys were.
I would say that's the reason I brought up the stuff with Caleb Williams a couple weeks ago, because while I see the talent right there, him choosing to blow off the media for his last game at USC, to me, is kind of is this guy really mature for the next level? I do wonder about that.
Well, fool me once, shame on you. I forgot Drew Brees. Thanks, AJ.
Drew Brees, yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the second strike. The first one was, this dude wants an ownership stake in the team. You're not Lionel Messi, bro. You're not getting an ownership stake in whatever team drafts you. You're not even guaranteed to stay there for your entire career. Then he has the thing with Notre Dame, which I kind of took exception to how some people were viewing it, but that's fine. And then 3, the UCLA thing. This guy is not kind of your prototypical number 1 overall pick. And if things don't go his way, you just wonder, is he going to turn into another Kyler Murray type? Because Kyler Murray was a hell of a talent coming out of college. I'm not saying he was generational, but this guy was meant to be the next, mentioned in the top tier of quarterbacks, and it didn't pan out. And I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to do the same, but God, blowing off a press conference after losing, that's a bad look.
Especially in college. I get that UCLA is a huge rival, but you can't use the excuse of, I'm going to go home and cuddle with my dogs every time. It's no, you got to talk to the media. You got to talk about this. That's what's going to happen. You are the face of a franchise.
Yeah.
So.
And interesting note. Dude, I had these chips right next to me and I just keep munching them. I don't know why during this whole podcast. Excuse me.
Yeah, they're good chips.
They are. But Ian Rappaport tweeted it out that you see Joe Burrow, as soon as he gets the season-ending injury, goes out, speaks to the media, answers questions. That's what a franchise quarterback does. He doesn't blow off press conferences from UCLA. And you wonder, it's Ian Rappaport tweeting that.
Yeah.
Are some executives, some GMs maybe telling him something?
I guarantee you a GM told him that.
I
don't think that's going to deter anybody from drafting him. But I do think there's going to be a lot of meetings at the combine or whatever where guys are like, Caleb, you gotta You got to show that you are a leader of men. As much as a head coach needs to be that, so does a quarterback.
Yep.
Some quick hits from what happened in Week 11. I'll go pretty quickly here. Cowboys continue to beat up on good teams, beat up on bad teams. Don't really know what to make of them. We'll see what they do tomorrow against the Commanders. And even then, if they win that game handily, you still don't know. But very impressive by Deron Bland to get 4 pick sixes in one season already. He's not leading the way for Defensive Player of the Year, but still very impressive to get that going when we're already 11 games into the season. Despite 3 picks, probably the worst performance by Jared Goff this season, Lions find a way to come back and win. And it's kind of a pros and cons of that game. I would say that Jared Goff reverts back to the reason why the Rams got rid of him, and that's why you wonder about the Lions. At the same time, they won the game and they were resilient, so maybe you have more faith in them. But then again, they were playing the Bears. But they found a way to win that game, and that's what good teams do. They find a way to win games, even though they probably shouldn't have won that game. Any thoughts on that game, Steven? Or
No, that's why if the Lions face the 49ers, say in the playoffs, I'd be taking the 49ers.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they did to Jared Goff when he was with the Rams.
Yep.
Look, the Lions are a very good team. They really do. But and they could very well end with the best record in the NFC, but I think that game kind of showed you right there. Those interceptions were really bad. I had that on the corner in the multi-view. Quad box.
The old quad box. Browns are getting by with their defense. Not a whole lot of offense. Dorian Thompson-Robinson did enough to win that game. I think that eventually they'll have to go to PJ Walker, or maybe even Joe Flacco. But they're doing enough with their defense. I think Myles Garrett's probably your leading candidate Defensive Player of the Year. Steelers, I think they're playing really good defense. They went up against a really good defense. Kenny Pickett's struggling a little bit. They had enough with Matt Canada. They blamed it on Canada. They fired him. We'll see if the offense improves. But I think that the Steelers are kind of in the same boat. They still have their starting quarterback, so they shouldn't be having offensive outputs that they've been showing. But I think they're very similar to the Browns, where I think pretty much every team in that division, with the exception of the Bengals now that they've lost Joe Burrow, is predicated on their defensive strength. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback, but I think that all 3 of those teams will be playoff teams. I think it's primarily because of all their defenses.
God, the Steelers don't deserve to be there, though. Like, they really don't.
But people say that, though, but I think they have one of the best defenses in football.
They absolutely do, but that offense is just so bad. And I know they fired Matt Canada, but God.
Did you see Najee after the game?
No, what do you say?
They asked Najee the most, ironic answer I've ever gotten, I think I've seen from someone being asked, are there too many guys that put themselves before the team? And Najee responds going, I'm not going to respond about other people. You should just ask me about myself.
Yeah. Well,
the irony.
That's the state of them right now.
Yeah. I texted this to our friend Evan, who's a Chargers fan. It was time to fire Brandon Staley. I'm surprised they did not do it. But then again, the Spanos never want to just give money away. But for them to lose that game, and anyone that's shitting on Justin Herbert, I think needs to play a lot better. But the talent is there, the same way that the talent is there for Josh Allen. We just don't see it routinely. And for them to lose that game, I think the Packers played a great game, but the Chargers have so much more talent. And Quentin Johnston just dropping that pass is ridiculous. I think he's going to be a good player, but he's having a very rough rookie campaign. I would have fired Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the hell they're waiting for, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of the Chargers.
No, I don't. No one knows what to make of the Chargers. Every year it's the same thing. Like, how often are we going to be saying that a Chargers quarterback just lost by 3? As they had to drive the length of the field so they can get to so that they can win. They're down by a field goal or more. They're not down. They're not even down by a field goal. They're normally down by 4 points. Like, that's how they'll lose the game. They'll always cover the spread if it's a big one, but they're always going to lose the game like that. Justin Herbert has been really good these past 2 games. Prior to that, you talked about a little bit how you were one of those people shitting on him, Derek. We're going to talk about hypocrites sticking to the media. That's what you said. You've been talking a little bit about Herbert this year.
I have, but also I would say that, like the way that who's my guy?
Who's my guy?
No, who's on that show on Fox? They went to Texas. Big dude, college football guy. Acho.
Emmanuel Acho.
Emmanuel Acho has got it out for Justin Herbert. Where I'm like, dude, relax.
Sorry, Phoebe's starting to get up on the damn table. Phoebe,
No worries.
No, I'm using that tomorrow. I just bought a bunt pan today. Bunt cake. Bunt.
Don't get in the bunt cake.
I'm not. There's no cake in there yet, but I don't need her.
Just the tint.
It's just yes, it is. I don't need her getting around that. But anyway,
I don't blame you.
No, it's not a Herbert problem. They need a couple more pieces on defense. They need a new coach. They need a lot of things, but it's not a Herbert problem. I feel a lot better about Justin Herbert than I do about Josh Allen moving forward.
I am with you. And say again.
I feel better about Justin Herbert than Josh Allen moving forward. Justin Herbert's just getting started, and it feels like Josh Allen's kind of going to be who he is.
I don't know about that. I think someone could get the mistakes out of Josh Allen.
Maybe. Or he's just going to be Josh Allen and just make those mistakes because it's not a coaching problem. It's him trying to, make a bigger play than it needs to be.
But I think the right coach can help with that. I think Brian Dable got that out of him.
Agreed. Okay. But
by the way, Skills, yes, I have seen this video where I want to say who is it? Chris, I forget the name of the kicker for the Steelers. But I have seen this where the kicker tells Matt Canada, "We did not win because of you." I want to say that happened last year.
Oof. That's embarrassing.
Have you seen this, Steven?
No.
I did see that.
You mean with Dicker? Wait, no, sorry.
No, not Dicker. Hang on. It's going to bother me. Chris something. Listen to the cicadas.
Oh, God, this is good for the pod.
The cicadas going on here. How come I can't?
Chris Boswell.
Chris Boswell, there it is. Yeah, he says to Matt Canada after he's celebrating in the locker room, "We didn't win because of you," which is telling from the kicker.
Oof.
Our guy. I mean, give credit to Brock Purdy, but I don't know what this guy's stat line was, but he had himself a game. Let me tell you, Steven. He was 18 of 26 for 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, Tommy DeVito finally broke his cherry. He won the game. Great performance.
Can I be honest? I didn't watch a single second of that.
Nor should you have, because that was a terrible game, but Tommy DeVito got it done. Bada bang. Chicken cutlets waiting for you at home, baby.
Hey, my bed's made. Thanks, Ma.
CJ Stroud, on the other side, had a rough game, but still won, and that's all that matters in the end. You're going to have rough stretches as a rookie quarterback, 3 picks, not the end of the world.
Yeah, but he's still making throws where you're just like, this dude's a beast. Everyone makes mistakes, but there are others who can't make throws that he's making. Cardinals are a fun little team right now with Kyler Murray back. You can kind of rejuvenate them a little bit.
By the way, I was
literal team.
By the way, that touchdown that Kyler Murray threw to Elijah Moore, that deep pass, we all made fun of Jonathan Gannon, but explosives.
It's right there.
Seahawks struggled against the Rams, couldn't get enough offense, and Geno Smith hurt his tricep. Maybe a factor in tomorrow's game, but not good for them. Missing the field goal at the very end. And then the Broncos. Steven, are you ready to say that Sean Payton is not overrated as a head coach?
No.
Why not?
Win more in the playoffs.
Fine. I thought that Russell Wilson's not putting up gaudy numbers, but he's doing enough for the Broncos to win. And he's not putting them in bad positions. He's just doing the right things. Maybe as time goes on, he'll be more comfortable with Sean Payton's offense. But right now, they're doing okay. And as for the Vikings, Josh Dobbs doing very well as well. I would say that I've been impressed with the Broncos defense of late. They're doing enough to win games, and the Vikings are doing well with Josh Dobbs. I don't really take much out of that win. I didn't take much out of that loss.
There's a Thanksgiving trailer on a horror movie called Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Forgot that was the one. Anyway, I'm just tired of seeing Russell Wilson win because I have to see him speak to the media, and it's really cringe.
It always is.
It's just like, dude, oh gosh, Russ, stop trying so hard, man. Or is this who you are? It's just weird. It's just
as his own head coach said, stop being a politician.
Right? I don't know. It's like when he was doing the post game interview, and he had Cortland Sutton next to him, and he's like, how about this guy right here? Stop talking to me. How about him? And it's like,
what is he? Is he pulling the interim head coach of the Michigan Wolverines?
Yeah, something like that. But
God, that guy.
Yeah,
I fucking love Jim Harbaugh. Love the shit out of him, man.
Yeah. I praise he's like, I love the Lord, but I love the shit out of you, Jim.
That reminded me of last year. It was like a complete 180 where it's like, oh, praise the Lord. I fucking love you. It's like Jamal Williams last year was like, I want to dedicate this to my grandfather who passed away. I love you, man. And by the way, it's all dog in this mug.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't let the tears fool you.
Should we do picks for Thanksgiving games?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's do it. So we got 4 games going on before Sunday's slate. First time we're getting Black Friday games. So first off, and you know what? This is the first time in a while where fans are not going to be like, the Lions. People want to watch the Lions now, which is good for football, especially when they have the tradition of Thanksgiving every year. Okay. So it's Green Bay at Detroit. Mm-hmm. Lions are favored by 7.5, and the over-under is 47. Who do you like, Steven?
I like the Lions to win this game outright. I'm going to lay the points there as well, and I am actually going to go under. Ooh. I think that defense is going to stop Jordan Love, and I could see this playing out kind of similarly to the 49ers and Broncos, the 49ers and Buccaneers on Sunday, where it's like a 24-7 or 27-14 game, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Packers offense hasn't shown a lot this season. They're going to be without Aaron Jones. But for whatever reason, I'm going to take the same as you, except I will go over. I think that enough points will be scored in this game to go over 47. Then we got the Washington Commies up against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys have been juggernauts at home. They are 12-point favorites, and the over-under is 48.5.
This is an interesting one because they haven't played each other. And I think the Commanders really have been, if I'd have to go back and look at every NFC East game, but if I'm not mistaken, they keep on putting up a fight in the NFC East. And I know what
last week.
I know what your pick is. But I think I could see Dallas just dominating this one, and maybe Sam Howell just continues this or has this carryover of turnovers, and maybe Deron Bland gets another pick 6 on national TV, and he has 5 of them, which I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. So I'm going to lay the points with Dallas. Give me the over. Can't believe I'm laying the 12 with them, but I think that could happen where the defense is going to get them a score too.
I don't see the Commanders ever have back-to-back terrible games. So for that point alone, I will take the Cowboys to win, but I'm going to have the Commies, the old commie cover, and I like the over at the 48.5.
And Dak's just playing out of this world right now. Even though they're bad teams, he's playing real well.
Yep. CeeDee Lamb having a tear too. Then we got probably the biggest game on the slate as far as the Thanksgiving games. Niners going to Seattle. Geno Smith sounds like he is going to play, but it sounds like Kenneth Walker will not, so it'll be a lot of Zach Charbonnet. The Niners are 7-point favorites, and the over-under is 44. Steven, who is eating the turkey at the 50 this time around?
I think the Niners are going to come up. I think the Niners are going to come up big, but I think Seattle's going to get the backdoor cover, so give me Seattle to cover that number, but I think the Niners are going to win, and give me the over in this game. Actually, you know what? Give me the under. Give me the under. Give me the under.
All right. Under's happening.
Because I think we forgot Leonard Williams was traded to the Seattle Seahawks, and right now the 49ers could be without two of their guards. They might have one back in Aaron Banks, but he's not going to be fully 100%. Spencer Burford, doubtful, I think, to play. I think Leonard Williams can feast and just force Brock Purdy out the pocket. And the Seahawks have a pretty darn good secondary, but I still think the 49ers offense is going to manage to put up points. And, if Geno Smith is kind of questionable, really probably not meant to play, and they don't have Kenneth Walker, I'm not feeling too good about their chances, but I could see them covering that number.
Yeah, the reason I would go with Seattle here just because they'll be home. They're going to wear those booger green jerseys. They're gross. But the Niners are not intimidated by going to whatever they call that field now and playing that team. So I'm going to take the Niners, and with Geno Smith being 50-50, he'll play, but he's not 100%. He doesn't play well against the Niners. So I'm going to take the Niners to win. I'm going to lay the points with the 7, but I see under, as I think it will be more of a low-scoring game. And then we have, for the first time ever, a Black Friday game with the Miami Dolphins, those HBO Miami Dolphins, and Tim Boyle's New York Jets. Just real quick on the Bills and Jets last week. That's how the Bills should play every week. But I don't really know how they're going to play on a given week because that's the Jets right now. So the Jets got the crap kicked out of them. Robert Saleh tackling Zach Wilson and then benching him. Tim Boyle is going to start. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I've seen Tim Boyle play before. It has not looked pretty at all. And the Miami Dolphins are favored by 10. And the over-under is 41.5.
Lay the point.
I'm taking the Dolphins to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets defense can do enough to cover the 10, but you best believe I'm hitting that under.
Yeah. I don't think they're covering. Lay the points with them, but give me the under as well.
All right, so there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
God, the Zach Wilson, the 2 plays, him tripping over his feet, Robert Saleh getting tackled.
The biggest mistake that Robert Saleh made was shaving his beard. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. What happened to that? Now you're back to being Xerxes.
The beard was looking good, man.
It was. I agree.
I mean, especially this time of year, shit gets cold. I don't know.
Yeah. By the way, now I see why McDaniels wears these joggers like this. I feel refreshed right now. Oh, my gosh. My legs feel great.
All right. Well, thank all of you for listening and watching. We'll be back early Saturday morning because I need to get to a flight. And Steven's going to go see Notre Dame and Stanford play.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the Farm.
Mm-hmm.
That great Stanford team. Oh, yeah.
I'm excited.
All right. Have fun with that. It's always a good time at the Farm. We'll be on at 8 o'clock. It's going to be an early pregame show, I should say. We'll review all the Thanksgiving games. We'll pick the games for this great Week 12 slate. And everybody have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. Steven, have a great Thanksgiving for you and Jesse. All the Ernies, everybody that watches and listens, have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great Turkey Day. However you wish to celebrate it. I don't love turkey, but you best believe that I will be enjoying football and having my mom with me and having some good turkey as well. Steven, for all you jive turkey gobblers out there, Steven, say what you always say.
Derek doesn't know how to close out shows. That's just my opinion, man.